In today's video, I'm going to be walking you guys through a discovery call that I just had a couple of days ago. And I want you to kind of understand the ins and outs and my thought process as I'm kind of going through these questions and having this conversation with this prospect, right? What we're selling on the back end is a $3,000 deal. And, as a closer, you do get 10% commission on those deals, which is pretty nice. If you're able to close a couple of these every single day, then obviously you're making a pretty decent living, right? The reason that we're only going to be focusing on discovery today is because it is the most foundational part of every single sales call, right? I know like the sexy, like objection handling stuff, like that's what all the closers on Instagram are talking about. But honestly, the only reason that you do potentially get objections is because you're doing something wrong in the discovery phase in the beginning of the call. And so that's why we're going to be focusing on that today. Just give you guys some insight, give you guys my thought process, and then we'll kind of take it from there. So I'm going to block this guy's face, obviously, just because I want to keep his identity protected. But let's get going.
Yeah, so essentially I just wanted to prove my financial situation. That's the bottom line, right? And just being able to work with government contracts, I'm thinking that it's an opportunity to achieve my goal, increasing my financial capabilities, essentially just being able to live a better life. Because obviously your finances are really key to what the things you can do, right? So currently working at Whole Foods, and I'm like, this is not what I want to do. This is not what I want to do, because it's not going to accord me the freedom I want. It's not going to give me what I desire in life, right? So being able to improve my financial situation, therefore improving my life, is the goal. And since I've heard about government contracts before, I just haven't done any in-depth research. So when I saw the video, I was like, okay, cool, this is something I might explore a bit more. So that's the idea.
So after setting the frame of the call, is essentially being like, okay, so this is how these calls usually go. I want to get to know you a little bit better, figure out like where you're at, what you're looking to achieve, like those types of things. And if it makes sense and I actually feel like what we're doing could potentially help you out, I'm more than happy to walk you through everything that we got going on. Does that sound fair? And obviously they're going to say, yeah, that sounds good. And then I kind of jump into, okay, so what was your motivation for jumping on the call today? The recording started a little bit late, which is why it kind of just cuts right into when he starts talking. But that was essentially the question that I asked. And that was the response to the question that I just asked. And you just heard from him.
Yeah. Okay. When you say like making improvements in your life, like what truly is kind of the vision that you're going to be working towards here? Like what is it that you want?
Freedom. Mm-hmm. Freedom is what I want, and being free means doing what you want when you want to, having the capacity financially to do that, because finances are really key to our day-to-day existence, right? So being able to do things I want when I want, having that opportunity and having that freedom to do that is something I'm definitely working towards.
Okay, what are some things that you want to be doing? Like, can you walk?
So here, it's very important what I'm doing. I'm digging deeper. Right? Because a lot of rookie closers, what they'll do is they'll kind of take that initial response and they'll think, oh, okay, that's kind of what this guy wants. And they won't go into depth. But it's still very out there. It's still very, how do you put this? Like, it's still very vague, his answer. So what I'm kind of trying to do with this next question is I'm trying to essentially get him to clarify and just open up and kind of help me paint a clearer picture of like what his dream outcome is. Because 9 times out of 10, if you ask someone on the street, like, what do you want for your life? More money and more freedom. Right? But what does that mean for you specifically? So that's kind of what I'm doing with this next question.
Walk me through like what is like that thing or those things that you want to have the freedom to be able to do?
So I want to have a lot of kids, and I want the freedom to be able to be in their lives actively. I want to also be able to travel the world, and I want the opportunity to see, like explore more parts of the world, and not be tied down to a particular place because you don't have the capacity to do that, right? So I'm just looking at my future. Okay, yeah, I want to have the ability to travel the world, explore new opportunities, explore new places. These are things that I'm like, okay, I need you need a bit of money to do these things. You can't be living paycheck to paycheck and expect to raise. Say you want to have 6, 7 kids, you can't be doing paycheck to paycheck, because it doesn't give them the life I want to give them, right? It would not be wise to have that many kids and not have the financial backing to raise these kids. So yeah, that's really what it is. The freedom to exist the way I want to exist, not being just fundamentally that's what it is. It's a freedom. It's a search for freedom.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Just out of curiosity on that note, like being able to have that freedom and, being able to have a lot of kids and, having the freedom and time to spend as much as possible with them and just traveling, like what is the reason that being able to do that is so important for you specifically?
I think it's how I want to choose to live my life. So everything's about choices, right?
Yeah.
What you choose to do, right, is dependent on a lot of situations, a lot of circumstances, right? So if I'm able to live how I choose to live. I think that equates to true freedom, because I'm choosing to do these things. It's not that I'm forced to do these things because I do not have the ability to do otherwise, right? These are choices I've made based on my abilities, and I want to pursue them because I want to achieve freedom, which is freedom of choice to be able to do what you want to do. That's what I meant about how I've chosen to. Yeah, okay, cool. I want to be able to do these things, and I want to have the capacity to do these things.
Yeah.
So just quickly on that note, the reason that I asked that question is because, again, we're just digging in deeper, right? So he wants freedom, he wants more kids, he wants all these different things, but getting an understanding for like why that is important to him specifically, it's almost like an identity question. Like it's almost like we're kind of digging into like who he is as a human being, right? We're digging into his values. And what we're essentially trying to do here is we're really trying to establish his kind of his heaven, like his ideal outcome, right? And who he is as a person in terms of like getting to that goal, right? We're just trying to establish that dream scenario and have a very clear picture, and obviously help him understand why these things are important to him as well.
Okay, interesting. For you to be able to, I guess, feel like you're on the right path towards those goals. Let's say within the next like 12 to 24 months, like how much money are you looking to be making from something like this to feel like, again, like you're on the right path, you're taking action on the right things?
If I'm able to make 15, 20K a month, I think that's a good start. 15 to 20,000 a month, and obviously we have the ability to, since with like more experience, we're able to scale it up a bit more. But 15 to 20K a month.
Yeah. 15 to 20K.
Yes, I think that'd be a good start.
Sick. Okay. If it's something that you've been thinking about for a long time, it seems like you have a very like clear picture of what you're looking to do.
It's something I've considered. Yeah, it's something I've considered for a while. Just trying to look at what kind of life I want to have. Thinking about the future. Okay. I know that. Yeah, wanting a lot of kids is something I've come into recently. But the idea of freedom and the idea of doing what I want to do has always been at the back of my mind. Now I'm trying to make it more for front of mind, because it's a new year and then time waits for no man, because before you know it, you're an old man. So like you need to be able to do these things as you think about them, not just okay wait and just wait for the right time. There is never going to be a right time. So just like to try and take action. That's the whole idea.
So first off, the question that I asked earlier was essentially like a money question. Like, what is the specific amount that he's looking for per month? Because one, it makes the goal and kind of the initial thing that we're going to be working towards more specific, right? It's not just like this, oh, I want to lose weight, or, oh, I want to make more money. Like, we're actually getting into, okay, like how much weight are you looking to lose? Like, what is the ideal? Obviously, like this is not what we're talking about here, but just to give you like an example, like, okay, my goal is to go to lose 25 pounds and, fit in my bikini again. Or my goal is to make $10,000 per month so I can leave my job at Whole Foods and go all in on my own business, right? Like, we're aiming for those specific numbers because they're easier to then tie them back to later on in the conversation and just give them like a clearer idea of like exactly what they're working towards.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So I guess just to understand, like when you say you've been thinking about this for a while, is it something that you've been thinking about for a year, 10 years, 5 years, a month? Like, what is kind of that time horizon for you?
So the reason that I asked that question as well, like this entire, like how long have you kind of been thinking about it, is essentially what I'm trying to do here is I'm teeing up, first off, it kind of segues nice out of what we just talked about, right? Because we just talked about his dream situation. We've got a clear idea of what he wants to do. And then we're just kind of segueing into what's his challenge right now. What's his hell, his current situation. And the kind of the thinking about it for how long have you been thinking about it? It gives us a clear idea of like, first off, how long he's had this dream for. And it'll also give us a little bit of leverage in terms of then asking, what else have you been trying during this time? And it tees up a lot of good follow-up questions later on in the conversation, which is why I like to use one of these questions like this, just to kind of get a clear idea, because if he now goes to say, I've been thinking about this for 5 years, and I ask him, what have you tried? And he says nothing. And it's like, okay, well, why haven't you tried anything for 5 years? And then they might say something, and we can kind of hold them accountable and challenge them to step up, So that's kind of why I use this question, just to kind of see where he takes me with his answer, and I can kind of pivot based off of what he gives me off of that question.
what are you asking exactly? The time horizon I've been thinking about freedom, or the time horizon I'm thinking about having many kids. What's your question?
I guess like this overall vision of having the freedom, having the freedom, making more money, being able to like travel more. Obviously, as you mentioned yourself, like the kids, having more kids, that's kind of more recent. But I guess like this grand overall picture, like how long have you been thinking about that?
I would say I've been thinking about this on and off for like maybe 8 years, just like thinking about it, right? But these are they were just thoughts, right? And I didn't do anything per se to make these thoughts a reality. It was thoughts in my head that I had, and I kept having. But then now, and as obviously I'm getting older, I'm like, yeah, for you to transform these thoughts to reality, you need to take actionable steps.
Yeah.
What are the actionable steps? Hey, we're trying to figure that out. Is it going to contract? Is that going to be the vehicle I use to achieve this goal? I'm trying to figure that out. So that's what it is.
Gotcha. Okay. So other than like getting older, like I guess like what has changed now? Because as you said, like you mentioned how you kind of decided that like now is the time to actually do something about this. Like what's changed where like you feel like you're ready to do something about this?
I think I've just been passing through life, right? Just going through the motion. And you know how they say you're asleep even though you're awake. You're not actively contributing to your other phrases.
With that question, I'm trying to essentially identify like what happened to make him change his behavior. What I could have done better as I listen back to this as well is the way I asked the question was a little bit weak. I should have added like, man, you've been thinking about this for 8 years. What have you tried to actually change this in the last 8 years? Let's just say, for the sake of the example, that he says nothing. Let's just say that he says nothing. I would have asked, okay, dude, so I guess like help me make sense of all this. Like, you've been thinking about this for 8 years. You've done nothing about it. But now all of a sudden you've decided that it's time for you to actually do something about this. So what's happened, or what's changed where you felt like you want to go from just thinking about it for 8 years to now that you actually want to do something? And it's usually like an event or like a moment of pain or something like that kind of changes their mindset. And we want to bring that up to the top because there's usually a lot of pain involved in that moment or that event that happened that make them change their mind. And we can bring that up into the conversation, and it's just going to be way more powerful when we go in for the close.
So it's just like you're just a victim of indecisions, or a victim of, because indecision is a decision if you think about it. So like you're just passing through and not being a proactive agent in your own life. You're being a reactive agent, someone who is just reacting to things that are happening to you. You're not affecting your own will on life. That's like taking account of my life. That's what I'm seeing. Okay, I think I'm being a bit too passive. I'm being a lot more reactive, and I need to be more proactive as a man, as someone who wants to take charge of his life. You need to do more proactive things to do that. And I think, I'm just looking at an avenue to be able to take charge of my own life.
Yeah. That's pretty cool that you're so aware of that. Like what impact has that had on you? Like, as you said, like you just kind of realized you've been sleepwalking through life. Like what kind of impact has that had on you? No, I'm saying I can only hear you a little bit worse right now. It almost sounds like you're a little bit away from the microphone. Can you try to say something?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. I was saying like what impact has that had on you? Like, I was just sleepwalking through life and never really being proactive. Like, how's that impacted you?
I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where I want to be. And I know that I have capacity to be where I want to be if I'm an active agent in my life.
His microphone kind of messed up on this part. We'll just continue, and then we'll see because I'm not able to hear what he's saying either right now. We'll see what happens.
Okay. But are you? Because I guess, by the way, I can still hear you a little bit worse. I don't know what happened.
His response isn't necessarily that important for now, but I want to give you guys context on why I kind of asked that question, right? Because he's bringing up how he's been thinking about this for 8 years, like he feels like he's been sleepwalking through life. And so what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to essentially get all of the negative emotions surrounding, I guess, his perception on the fact that he's been sleepwalking through life for so long. I'm trying to bring that up to the surface and get him to admit how that's been impacting him, because we can then use that in the close. If this guy starts hesitating, we can not necessarily hold that against him, but hold him accountable to the fact that he wants to stop sleepwalking through life, right? So I'm trying to bring out all these emotions, bring out how it impacted him, because again, it'll just help him take action when most likely he is going to want to think about something like this. because the prospects will fight like hell. They'll fight like hell to stay in their comfort zone. And it's our job as the closer to essentially help them take that step, even when their emotions are telling them not to. And the best way to do that is to be able to kind of bring up these emotions, because if the pain of staying the same is greater than making a change, then they'll make the change, right?
Trying to say something?
Hey, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's way better. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
So I guess what I want to ask you is like, dude, honestly, like, as you said, like you've noticed like throughout your entire life, like you've been kind of sleepwalking through it. You've kind of been reactive. You've been a more like passive player in your own game per se. Do you honestly feel like you're ready to kind of step up and change that?
100%.
Why now though? Like after all this time?
Why now?
Yeah.
I think right now, right now, there's never a better time. Like I said, there's never a better time to do anything like this. There's not an ideal time to do anything, really and truly. And I'm actively making the decision to do it. Yeah. That's what it is. So what has changed is now I'm saying, okay, I'm putting my foot down and saying, this is what I want to change, right? I don't want to just do the same things I've been doing in the past. So so right now I'm making a commitment to myself, making an active decision to pursue greatness, to be able to be that proactive agent in my own life. Yeah. Take control of my life, be in the driver's seat. Really, that's what it is.
This might be a little bit like a personal question, but can you take me back to, I guess, that moment when you kind of realized that this change needed to happen?
Listening back to this now, I think one thing I could have done better is, even though he's kind of answering my question, he's still not really answering my question. He's like, oh, I want to do this now because this, and this, but he's still been thinking about this for 8 years. He's still been thinking about this for 8 years. He's had this in the back of his mind, but his behavior hasn't changed. And he could have said the exact same answer that he told me right now. He could have said that to himself a year ago, 2 years ago. He could say that to himself a year from now. So there must have been something that happened. So that's kind of what we go into now. But I think another way of kind of doing it maybe even better is just kind of leaning out a little bit and be like, dude, I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, again, you've had this behavior and this way of operating for the last 8 years. Like, what changed,
Like what happened to where you kind of realized that, okay, like this transition needs to take place?
I was living with my brother, and then essentially I was living with my brother. He's a guy, so he was taking care of me. Like, yeah, don't worry about a lot of things. And then all of a sudden he got a new job and he needed to leave. And I was just, living, on some, not really like actively making a lot of money to be able to like stand on my own 2 feet. And when he had to leave, I was sort of in a crisis essentially, because I'm like, I don't want to carry on just living with him and just, move with him, because when it's me, something needs to change. So I think that was a catalyst. I was like, yeah, okay, cool. So he got a job, he had to leave, go to a different state. I'm like, okay. Now I need to fix up and do better. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, cool. How are we trying to navigate this? How are we trying to, what's the plan? Right? What's the plan? And I the plan was I needed to have the ability to improve my earning capacity. I knew that was something I needed to do. Right? So I then said, okay, what am I going to do that? So I've been looking up for different things, drop shipping, and I came across the video on that spoke about government contracts. And I'd heard about government contracts in the past, but like I said, I haven't been an active member of my life, right? So I've just been, you hear a lot of things, you see a lot of things, and I'm not participating, right? So it's like, okay, let me participate now.
Yeah.
Let me participate. So that's what it is. It's just I'm trying to.
Again, I think what I could have done better here, because I believe, let's just see what I do. Give me 1 sec.
I'm trying to improve my situation.
What have you been looking into though? Like
Yeah, so that's one thing, a little bit of a mistake I made. Didn't really impact the result of the call, but to improve it even more, I could have been, okay, so I guess like, what about your brother, you living with your brother, and then he had to move across the country, and now you're kind of in this situation. Like, what about that made you realize that you need to make a change, and just kind of have him open up about that. Because again, like he's kind of answering the question, but he still hasn't, although I can kind of assume what his answer is or what about that made that happen. I still want to have him express to me what about that made him realize this,
To change your situation. You mentioned dropshipping, you mentioned this, but what else have you been looking into?
Looking at the possibility of maybe going down the military route, looking at those opportunities, what the opportunities are there, looking at, possibly maybe going back to school, what are the opportunities there, just trying to explore as much. But the school route, I'm like, I think I'd rather be making money than just, making money. I think I'd rather be making money than, taking out loans to go back to school.
Yeah.
So that's what it's like.
Because I guess like ultimately the only reason you would go back to school would be to potentially be making more money in the future, right?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. In terms of like drop shipping, dude, like, is there a specific reason why you didn't want to go for that? Like, what held you back from that?
What held me back from that? I'm still looking to try and find a niche. Is there a niche? So this
One thing I'm doing right here, I don't know if you guys can notice it, but I'm noticing it. I'm kind of rocking a little bit back and forth like this, and it just comes off as a little bit nervous. So that's good for me to notice about myself as well. It does seem like I am a little bit nervous when I'm doing this because it's like self-pacifying behavior. So just staying more calm, staying more confident, and not making any like unnecessary movements.
these
Also, the reason why I asked this question is just to see what else he's looking into and see if we can kind of disqualify any of those paths, So he mentions drop shipping right now, and I'm trying to figure out, has he disqualified that path and why, if so?
These changes are pretty recent. Like, to be fair, like me actively making a decision to want to explore it more. It's been in the last week and a half. So I'm like, yeah, I need to fix up, right? Because I'm not one to like sit down and have like, oh, this is my New Year's resolution. But I think right now I definitely need to do something different. I need to do something different because it doesn't make sense to repeat the same things and expect a different result. I'm not insane. So yeah, I definitely want to improve my life situation. So if government contract works out, fantastic. If it doesn't, I'm gonna have to look for something else that works out. The decision is my life needs to improve. That's what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Can you walk me through just quickly before I kind of jump into the details? Like walk me through like what about government contracting kind of stood out to you? Like, what did you see that made you kind of feel like, you know what, this is potentially for me?
300 billion a month that they spend.
Yeah. And so this final question, he's just kind of wrapping up my question there. The reason that I kind of asked this final question was just to kind of see like what sold him a little bit on the opportunity and just kind of have him remind himself why he wants to go into this and why this is so attractive to him before we kind of jump into the pitch, right? Because then we are more like, we have that more top of mind. So again, I think to give myself a little bit of feedback on this call and also give you guys a little bit of a better idea, like I think my desired situation discovery on this call was pretty good. I think my kind of current situation, or like their pain, their hell, so to say, I think I could have done a little bit of a better job. And I think I could have kind of dug into a little bit like, what's the situation right now? I mean, obviously he mentioned that he works at Whole Foods. I could have asked him like, dude, is that something that you enjoy or not? Okay, if it is, awesome. What do you like about it? Okay, if you don't, like, what do you not like about it? How long have you been in the situation for? Just kind of get the specifics a little bit more. But overall, I think if I would rate myself on a scale of 1 to 10 on this discovery phase, I would honestly give myself like a 6, maybe 6.5 at best. Because again, my desired situation was good, but my current situation has a lot of room for improvement, right? So I want to kind of show you this to you guys to essentially show you that like there are room for improvements on any call, right? There's a lot of things that you can always do better. And I think this is a really good showcase of it because this is a $3,000 deal. Again, there's 10% commissions on deals like this. But if you want to jump on a call with me and talk more about remote closing, what the opportunity is like, if this something is potentially for you, I've dropped a link in the description to my personal calendar. So we can jump on. There's obviously no commitments. I'm not going to sell you anything on that call unless you think that this is the right thing for you. And if it is, let's jump in on a call and just figure out where we can take it from there, So thank you guys so much for checking out this call. Again, if you're interested in jumping on a completely commitment-free call just to talk a little bit more about remote closing, figuring kind of out like if this could potentially be something for you, click that link below, book a call, and then I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Ciao.